It's the moment that Mike Amesbury's decades-long career in politics evaporated when the Labour MP drunkenly attacked one of his own constituents, as you can see, punching him to the ground, and that was in October last year.
Yeah, and continues to punch him when he's on the ground. Mike Amesbury, the former MP, did plead guilty to common assault and was sentenced to 10 weeks in prison. But following an appeal, a judge suspended his sentence for 2 years and ordered him to complete 200 hours of community service, which you can see here, to pay for his crime. The former MP, Mike Amesbury, joins us now.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
The judge also ordered you to wear an alcohol tag because you had been drinking that night, hadn't you?
I had.
More than usual?
Yes, probably about 6 or 7 pints. I've been to 3 pubs. An empty stomach. It was a Friday. You will both know it's a busy day for members of Parliament, Friday with constituents and so forth. And I think I had soup that day, so it was an empty stomach. And yes, the judge, this was on appeal, made a decision to use an alcohol tag.
We can just see it on your left ankle there, if we just get a camera onto it, because it's a large tag, isn't it? And how does that work?
I've got this on for, it's 120 days, and I think every half hour it measures your sweat, so, and it's 0 alcohol intake in that 120 days, but, you know, I intend to go beyond 120 days, so.
For someone who's never been in trouble before...
Yes.
Was a respected MP.
Yeah.
We've heard from colleagues today that you're very well liked in the House of Commons. Nobody's got a bad word to say about you. This must seem surreal, that you're sitting here on television talking about having to wear an alcohol detector tag. We're going to be asking you about what it was like to go to jail for 3 days.
Yes.
It must seem unreal to you.
It does. It's a living nightmare, but it's a nightmare that I created. I obviously pleaded guilty at the first stage in the legal process. I own that, you know. So I'm being punished, and rightfully so.
And when you look back at that moment, and you've seen it so many times, we all have now. With hindsight, can you describe to us what was going through your mind? What was the change in you? 1 minute you're talking to the guy, he's got his hands in his pockets, he's not threatening you, and the next you've decked him. What happened in that moment?
I mean, I'll add some context, certainly not excuses. It's been a tough time in Parliament. Ironically, since we, I say we, I'm not a member of the Labour Party anymore, but since we entered government, and you know, I was a very public-facing, community-connected member of Parliament, but it was, you know, you were getting, whether it's winter fuel, whether it's other issues as well, people were quite vexed. I did have a stalker. I've still got a stalker. He turned up to my plea hearing. He's been prosecuted, and it does make you somewhat anxious. You know, lots of members of Parliament got personal alarms on them and so forth. Mr. Fellows, you know, he was somewhat... Yeah, he was somewhat vexed about, I think it was a local bridge. I think he mentioned winter fuel as well. There was a number of things. And, yeah, I did feel personally threatened at that time. And I made an instantaneous judgment call, which was wrong.
See,
I should have walked away.
I thought you'd say something like this. He was basically the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, wasn't he? He represented all the frustrations and the resentments which had built up in you as an MP who's constantly poked at and criticised and verbally jabbed. And then in that moment, this guy represented all of that, and you lashed out. Yes,
reflect on that, then yes. I mean, I went to get a taxi. I mean, 2:10 in the morning, it's incredibly rare. I couldn't even count on one hand, you know, in the last 8 years, nearly 8 years, I was a member of Parliament for the patch. And yeah, I just, like a lot of people at that taxi rank, just wanted to get a taxi and go home. And then obviously I was identified as the local MP. you know, so while I'm not working, you're always, you will know yourselves as celebrities, you are kind of always on duty. I should have known better. I've made so many mistakes that night, and it's not only changed my life, it's changed the lives of so many people around me.
The person that you punched, Paul Fellows,
Yes.
said he could have been killed.
Yeah.
We know that one punch can kill.
Yes.
He said you deserve to be in prison. You should never have been let out so early. He doesn't think that justice has been served. Have you had any contact with him? Do you want to have contact with him?
Yes, I've said to the probation service, this was pre-sentencing, I've said since that in mediation, you know, I will once again publicly apologise to Mr. Fellows and his family. Very importantly, my family as well, because it's affected them. My former constituents and neighbours and friends, I live in the community still. And parliamentary colleagues as well, you know, have been very kind about me. Certainly not supportive of my actions on that evening. But
Can I just say, I can see that you are personally broken by
Yes.
what's happened. You've lost your career as an MP, and you've lost your ambitions and your hopes for the future, as it would have been.
yes,
But there will be people watching who think you're not the victim here.
I'm definitely not.
And it is never... You might have an explanation for what happened, but there is never justification for turning to violence.
Yes.
You didn't just punch him, you punched him when he was on the ground as well, when he was completely defenceless at that point.
Yes.
What would you say, and what will you do now? Because if that was my son you'd punched, I'd want you in prison. I'd want you to do more than 3 nights in a cell. It's kind of horrifying to watch. I understand that it's had a massive impact on you, but I don't know what you do now in order to make it better.
Yes, well, I'm a living visual example of the consequences. Consequences of using violence, of seeing red in those moments of madness. And you're right, there for the grace of God that Mr. Fellows didn't bang his head on the floor and kill him. The charity one punch is exactly right. It's something I recognise. You know, 55 years on this planet, nearly 56. I've never been in trouble with the police.
Do you
before.
think the drink, the fact you'd had 6 pints, did that make it worse? Did that make you less able to control yourself when you were, you know, when a constituent came up to you at that time of the morning?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. And does that make you want... Obviously, you've got the tag on, but does that make you want to stop drinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So there was, you know, if I had an issue, it's probably around binge drinking. So every now and again, you know, it's one of those. What little hair I've got, you know, let my hair down. Quite stressful and things at the time. But yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this piece here, this interview, he showed the video and said viewers will find this distressing. It's me, but I don't recognise myself, and I find it quite traumatic, and I've had to watch that over and over again, and rightfully so.
Just one more question before we close this. You and your lawyers did not expect you to go to jail, so much so that you left your car on a meter outside.
Did, yes. Yeah.
Didn't bring a bag to court with you, and the next minute you're in a van on the way to the prison. And you say that the shock was intense, but actually it was a couple of old lags in your cell who, metaphorically speaking, kind of put their arms around you and got you through it. Is that right?
They did. They were a godsend. You know, that again, it just felt surreal. You know, I've never been in a prison before.
You didn't sleep, did you?
No, I didn't sleep for 3 nights. But actually, it was a helping hand, really, on that first night in particular. And they did. looked after me throughout, as did other inmates as well. I mean, I had a perception of prison, and of course I've been all over the TV, and there are, you know, small portable TVs in. I was free to the cell on the first night. We should pay rent on those TVs, by the way, they're not. But yes, I mean, everybody had seen me, and it was that. You know, obviously, I was incredibly anxious about that. But
and they were supportive.
People were.
Very quickly, next year, what will you be doing? Career?
I really don't know. But
no idea.
Out of what I did wrong, fundamentally wrong, you know, I've been punished through the legal system, but certainly well beyond that, you know, I've lost a job, but it was also a calling. It was more than a job for me as a member of Parliament. The family home's now on the market, so we're losing the home. And I don't know. I don't know what comes next at the moment, but I know that I've got to. I own this, but do some good from it. Do some good from it, really.
Mike Amesbury, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you to you both. Yeah.
If you're affected by any of the issues that we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.